Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Did you have any good conversations with these feminist Marxists on the Camino that related around faith or important issues?
Yeah, some were like basic conversations about the food. It's like, oh my gosh, so much meat. Am I right? Yeah, so much meat. I can't wait to see a vegetable. Am I right? Oh, yeah. So some of them were just kind of surfacey conversations.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, so one conversation that I had with, a couple of feminists was hilarious, actually.
And why do you call them feminists? Is it because
it just went straight to reproductive rights. The conversation just went straight to abortion. So they're like, hi, my name is X. What's your name? Father Gregory. Okay, so let's talk about abortion. It's
really?
Like, cool,
they
cool,
went
cool.
there like that?
Yeah, it was just like straight up.
In an aggressive way?
No,
or did you sense
it was like
open?
a genuine interest. It was actually a cool conversation.
That's
and
cool.
I'm continuing to be in conversation with one of them.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So my go-to is always just to start with God and then cast it in terms of happiness, right? And just kind of like walk people through like creation, fall, redemption, and say like it fits within a story. Because I don't think that a lot of us have the patience to tell the story because it's exhausting to tell the story, right? Because it takes a while. And everyone's like, yeah, but soundbite me, dog.
Yeah.
And you're like, soundbite me, dog. I try to cast it in those terms so that way it actually, makes sense in context and it has the appeal of the context. So I just want to be like, like the wild eye of witness. Like, let's talk about Jesus.
So when somebody says, like, what's your opinion on abortion? Like, how did you then give the big picture or the big story?
Yeah, so...
And how long did it take you to do that?
Yeah, usually it's like, it takes me like 6 or 7 minutes to get into it. So for me, it's like, okay, for me, like when we talk about... I usually talk about incommensurable language. When you say right and when I say right, we're typically not saying the same things, right? Because you're thinking like a claim right in a post-liberal dispensation where my rights end, where your rights begin, but we're going to contest that middle ground. So it's actually a kind of violent affirmation of the way in which I can give expression to my liberty. Whereas when I think about rights, I'm thinking about it in terms of justice, which means I'm thinking about it in terms of a theology of creation, because there has to be a first gift in order for there to be anything like a due, like a use. All right? So it's due in light of the nature, but the nature is given. And in order to understand that, you have to understand the giver. Like, so it goes back to God, right? Regardless of if we're like in a Christian setting or a non-Christian setting, you can talk about this. Like it has to come from somewhere or else it's meaningless, right? It's just violence. It's just violence, which is like the Marxist approach. It's just violence. So then you get to talk about God and then the way in which that story is complicated by sin, the way in which Christ rewrites that story more gloriously than it was before, and that we can partake of that. And so like when I talk about reproductive rights, I'm talking about a vision of heaven, right? Which takes into account the eternal destiny of the persons involved, both mother and child. So then, ... Yeah.
And you kind of begin almost sounding like, for me, like in a relativist way, not that you are a relativist, but do you find that that's a way to kind of get in? Well, here's how I view it.
Yeah, I'll often say like, so this is a Christian, so like what I'm saying here is a Christian claim. So I'm saying this as a Christian, I don't expect this to be something to which you consent, but I just want to show that there is an argument, right? So it's not just an assertion, there is an argument. So I think that this is part of a kind of reasonable discourse, or at least, that's how it unfolds within the tradition that I occupy. So here, let me just trot it out, and then you just tell me what you think is stupid, and then we can sift on
really
those terms.
Yeah, but there has to be a sense that there's goodwill here before you would engage in that.
Yeah.
I suppose if you're having a beer and eating a ton of meat, there probably is.
Beer, meat, I dance a lot in public as of late. It's just like, it just kind of gets into the hips, and then all of a sudden people are like, don't ever do that again. But like, what if I did? And they're like, stop it, seriously. And then you have a cool conversation about abortion.
Yeah. I was in Johannesburg the other day and bumped into this Christian fella, and he was running a bookstore.
Okay.
And just by the look on his face, I knew that this was going to get into an argument. He looked far too happy, and I knew that it was concealing something.
I know that kind
of thing.
Yeah.
And I was just not up for it.
Yeah.
I was just so turned off by it. And I don't know if I was just tired or if I've been down this road too many times, but it's like, when were you saved? I'm like, well, I was saved at my baptism. I'm being saved now. And you start adding that nuance and they get suspicious. But, talking about John 3:5 and all that. And I'm just like, we both know this isn't going to go anywhere. Like, I just couldn't be bothered. Just tell me about this Bible.
I think that's why, I prefer to talk. I often, and this will sound scandalous. Is it scandalous? Hard to say.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll let you know if it sounds scandalous.
I often prefer to talk to atheists than to talk to Protestants.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when Protestants approach me in that type of way, I'm like, why? Like, why me? Like one time I was assigned in Providence, Rhode Island for the summer, and I was coming down for my niece's baptism in Philadelphia, which is like a 5-hour drive, and it was done at the 9 o'clock mass. So I had to wake up at like the crack of death dawn. And so I'm like cruising along, you know, kind of going 17 over the speed limit. And then I finally get to a place where I've got a cushion. Like I can take a stop at a rest stop. I can get a cup of coffee. I can use the restroom. It's going to be great. And then this dude stops me in the parking lot. And he hands me like this little Watchtower publication. And he's like, we're just here, you know, trying to encourage people in their faith, you know, just kind of get a pulse on where people are with the Lord, you know. So I just, you know, I just have a few questions. And I'm like, bruv, like you've got like dozens of options of people you could potentially encourage. Like I have like a foot-long crucifix on my hip. Do I not seem encouraged to you? Like, why are you asking me?
Yeah.
Right? So it's that kind of, it's like it's that thing that I find very difficult. Maybe that is scandalous. So with like atheists though, they're just like, you're full of, you know, swear word. And I'm like, I might be, but let's suss it out.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Circumlocution. And so, I just find that more honest of an approach. It's just like, I think you're bad, because I think you're deceiving people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can see how you would think that given what you think. But like, let's suss it out. And they're like, let's suss it out. I'm like, let's go. Yeah, where it's like, I want to encourage you. So you don't want to encourage me. You want to convert me to your thing, right? Because you think that your thing is better than your thing. Just say that, you know? Or my thing, I should say.
Yeah.
Just say that. That's fine. That's a totally fine thing to say. But like,
yeah, and I actually think that being that honest about it is actually a more effective way of making it happen.
Yeah.
So my friend Cameron Bertuzzi, who runs the channel Capturing Christianity, I'm like, yes, I want you to be Catholic. I want you to stop being Protestant because I think you get a lot of things wrong and we have more things right than you. But just saying that is so much more helpful than pretending like you're not really trying to convert them or something like that.
Like I want everyone to be Catholic. I want them all to be Catholic.
All of them.
All of them. You know, like one faith to rule them all in a non-bad way.
But yeah, just saying that I think allows your ideological interlocutor to take a breath, right, in a way. Yeah. It's actually less abrasive in a way.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I want you to be Catholic. That is where I'm coming from. Yeah. I understand you think I'm wrong and that's okay and we can chat about it. Just saying it like that is just, I don't know, the cards are on the table, you know?
Yep. And I like it when people attack, not like in an angry way, but just attack the faith and say like, I have a problem with this, that, and the other thing. Because when people are like, I just want to have a conversation, it's like, what am I going to do with the conversation? You know, like, I'm happy to have a conversation, but if I'm having a conversation, like I want to have a conversation, I want to have a sneaky conversation. You know, it's like, if we're having a conversation, let's have a conversation. But if it's a conversation that's actually pointed because you actually have objections, but you don't want to pose them as objections because you think were you to pose them as objections, they would be offensive to me and you don't want to offend me because that's actually rule number one. It's like, that's not a conversation. That's apologetics, but let's just call it apologetics. Let's say like, you think that there are things wrong about what I believe, so just lodge them. Go for it. And I will talk at 157 words per minute until the cows come home because it is for this precise reason that I've come into the world. Just like, party on. But yeah, I just want to have honest conversations and or debates.
But that's cool that you're in dialogue with that Sheila. How's that going?
Good enough.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually like, here's an update on things, blah, 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 thus and such. And then to follow up on that abortion, it's like, let's
nice.
Go.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anyone better to be engaging in it. What's always a cop-out and always annoying is when people send you a link, read this. You're like, no, I'm not. You do the work. Don't. Because you can point links back and forth all day.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought about the video.